Ah, yes, springtime, the season when new life is born, and whatever strange creature it is that creates anime shows reproduces in mass quantities. Out of the immense flood of around 30 new anime shows that have begun storming Japanese programming schedules a few weeks ago, I would have to say that my personal pick of the litter would be this unusual little gem by the name of Soul Eater, or in its native tongue, Soru Ita, of which I have recently watched the first episode. First of all, let me just start off by saying that this show is hot shit. The premise goes that there are humans who turn evil, change into monsters, and start eating the souls of normal people in an attempt to become some big bad demon thing called Kishin. In order to stop this from happening, an organization is formed that raises people who go out and kill off the evil human monster things. The catch is that all of them are grouped up in pairs, with one of them being the master and one of them being the weapon, who can somehow magically transform into a supernatural talking weapon for the master to use, which is a nifty idea that interests me greatly. There is also the part about the organization being run by Shinigami-sama, who turns out to be the least intimidating incarnation of the Grim Reaper ever. And if a team of good guys collects 99 evil souls and 1 witch's souls, the weapon of the team will gain the power and qualifications to be a death scythe, which is basically the Grim Reaper's personal kill stick, not the Gundam. The show's 2 main characters are, of course, a master weapon team consisting of a scrawny young girl named Maka, the master, whose dad is the current Death Scythe and also a cheating douche nozzle who makes her hate him and want to beat him at his own job. She wears a typical plaid skirt and a less typical dramatic flowing black coat at the same time, making for an interesting fashion statement that somehow still works. And the weapon of the team being a punky-looking Naruto-esque guy named Soul, who has pointy teeth and seems to drool a lot, with him turning into a huge red-bladed scythe for Maka to wield, which she does very well, by the way, and causes me to find Maka as one of the much more unique characters that I've seen in a good while. Plus she wears a tie, which I find adorable, if you'll allow me to achieve a certain variety of creepiness. One other unique thing about this show is that it's the first one I've ever seen that I can honestly describe as sadistically goofy. What I mean by that catchphrase is that, for example, there is a big silly crescent moon hanging in the night sky wearing a big silly grin as though it was something you'd see hanging over a baby's crib, except for the fact that there is a fair amount of blood dripping from its teeth. The overall art style of the show is only slightly more serious than that of, say, One Piece, but you'll quickly see that the production values are significantly above average, since the opening scene is made of awesome and has Maka stylishly slashing apart a sort of evil clown version of Jack the Ripper, and yes, it is Jack the Ripper, they call him that. This whole scene clearly shows that the scenario writer and director know a thing or three about what they're doing, though I really hope that this isn't another case of first episode syndrome, where the show's producers pump a bunch of money and effort into the first episode to make the show look cool so you want to watch it, then go and spend approximately 14.5 cents on the entire rest of the show, including paying the writers, a recent victim of this disease being the Devil May Cry anime. And while I'm around this subject, I have to say that I really like the way they animated how Maka uses her scythe. Rather than just have her wave it around like a club or something, she does a lot of flipping and blocking and fancy momentum utilizing shit, like the way someone who is an actual martial artist and knows how to use a scythe would fight with it. Though the argument could be made that nobody really fights with a scythe, but we'll have that conversation another day. As far as the sound goes, the music is pretty tight and well placed in my opinion, consisting mostly of upbeat, action-based tunes, but has some other ones to round it out for dramatic suspense and emotional moments, though I'll obviously have to watch the rest of the show to hear the full soundtrack. The voice acting is also pretty good, with Soul having a slightly deeper voice than you might expect for someone his apparent age, but you easily get used to it. One thing that bugged me, though, was that Maka's voice, while casted well and fits the character, is very monotone throughout the whole episode. And while that can also be adjusted to, it makes it seem like the seiyuu for Maka isn't quite doing their job right. Or at least that's what I thought until I discovered that right when the show started airing, Square Enix announced that they're making a Soul Eater game for the Wii titled Monotone Princess, which is the name of the game because it's in English. So assuming that that refers to Maka, not some crappy game-only filler character, then that must mean that her voice is supposed to sound monotone, in which case the voice actor is doing their job right, so good work, whoever you are. The other characters in the show, as seen in the opening and ending themes, are a short, blue-haired ninja kid, Master, and a taller ninja chick who turns into a pair of Kusarigama, otherwise known as a chain sickle, and a kid in a tux with 2 cowgirls who turn into a pair of handguns. Upon closer inspection of the opening and ending theme, though, it seems that this character is holding those 2 handguns completely upside down, as in he's pulling the triggers with his pinky fingers. While this is certainly different, to me, as someone who actually knows how to use a gun, this looks completely moronic. I could perhaps excuse it if he was holding one gun right side up and the other upside down, going for a visual theme like that, which would still bug me, but I could cut them some slack because it's an anime, it's not exactly realistic. But with both of them vertically reversed, the only thing I can think of when I see it is, "You're doing it wrong, jackass!" I mean, sheesh, the gangsta sideways cock-armed thing was stupid enough, but now this? As far as actual negative points for the show, though, It does suffer from the all too predictable immature fan service moment and strategically placed bath toys, which admittedly it's pretty damn hard to avoid in anime, but other than that I was all over this show like a insert fat joke here. Anyway, the show is scheduled to last 2 seasons, 51 episodes, which to me sounds just right because it'll give it enough time to fill out the story of the manga well enough, which started 4 or 5 years ago but is one of those once a month double chapter things like Claymore, but will suffer from little or no filler crap and won't be one of those shonen shows that endlessly drags on for an eternity or two. So the bottom line here is that if you've got a reasonable tolerance for goofy weirdness, like action and unique character design, or simply are a little too eager to see partial breasts so fake that they literally don't exist, then you should check this bad boy out, because I've got to say that as long as Soul Eater keeps up what it started in the first episode, this show just might be that entertaining breath of fresh air that sparks some new life into my interest in anime. Thank you, and good